Hey guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic Channel. Hope you're having a fabulous day. And today we have Kallum back, Kallum Wilkinson, and we're going to go through the fire in the middle, the Pyre-a-Mid or the pyramids. And yeah, Kallum's take on the pyramids. So how you going there, Kallum?
Very, very well. I'm a happy Ning.
Happy Ning.
Happy Ning. I've been thinking about the pyramids a lot, the fire in the middle a lot since our last talk as well. I've been able to put a few more photos together and sort of some overlays and some more of a visualization of what I'm talking about, the sort of end product of what I'm thinking might be going on here.
Yeah, cool.
I
Awesome.
highlight might because I don't know. This is a theory.
Yeah. They all are. No, it's good. So I'll basically, I'll just give you the floor, mate, and you run through it for us.
Great. This is the first sort of overlay that kind of got me going on this. Well, this was, I think I started like it was a comment from one of your videos about pyramids, or it was observation deck. It was one or either, because someone mentioned, you know, sort of going through what they think it might be, and the idea of the heart of the pyramid came up, and that's what sort of caught my attention again. I realized I've sort of already gone through the pyramid sort of stuff in my earlier years and sort of went, oh, it's this. But now I'm sort of going through why it's that. But the idea was the heart. And like everyone sort of goes the center of the pyramid. So if we're saying the middle of the pyramid, pyre, pyre, funeral, pyre, fire, in the middle, well, where is the middle? You know, and I was thinking about that, and I was, well, heart is the middle. Like if I say, what's the middle of you'll probably say it's the heart, right? Or if I say the fire too, where's your fire come from? You know, it's a mix between, from the belly or from the heart, but it's from the center, right?
Yeah, and it's the center chakra, and we have all these pictures of Jesus and other religious figures that shows their heart, and it's also a flame.
And that's where the center of the cross is when you draw the cross. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm thinking like, because people, the king's chamber was always the heart, right? And people can see it in front of them now. The king's chamber lines up directly with the heart here. But this was the discovery. I'm like, well, if it is the heart, well, let's test that out. Has anyone overlaid a human or a being, you know, over the top of the pyramids? And I couldn't find it anywhere. I was a bit shocked by that. This has not been done. I haven't seen this anywhere, right? Yeah. And I've looked. I haven't seen one overlay, anything like this, or anyone talking about it. So I thought, well, I better think about it then, because what's going on here is the heart being the king's chamber is one point that I had. Where was the other point? So in doing this, I thought to myself, the belly button right here is ground level. So this is my second sort of point of reference where I could line things up. So that's how I line this up, right? And if you think about it, where do you come from? You come from the belly button. That's where your cells start. That's the center of all being, really, of you. That's where you started.
Yeah, and
so
the stories, they say that we're made from dust, and that's at ground level.
It's the same idea of an arc as well. We'll get into the arc with the key, which was a key piece here, or a key for me in the king's chamber as well. But it's kind of our arc from the center. I think the center is, well, where your two souls meet the ground, and the ground is the center, the song of this place. The one song, the universe, sings from that point, really. And out from that, so you're the arc, so your belly button would be an arc from that center. Arc, heart. You know, what is heart? He, art of he as well. So now it's art, you know, and the idea of art and arc is very close to that, right? But with you see the C at the end, which is the beginning and the end, right? Sort of the divide, the separation that you see. So that's the arc. I mean, it's bow. Arc means bow. So that C there shows you ARC, shows you that sort of non-complete circle there. It's really a line that has a beginning and an end sort of thing right there in the center. But then you look at art, and now you have that cross, that center, that heart, the art, right? So like in that heart, so I line that up and everything lined up here, right? I mean, here's the little, golden cap sitting on top of your head, and the shoulders line up with like the air. And then, so this is the heart. This is the size of the heart here as the cursor lines up with the size of this. And then you've got your subterranean chamber here sort of lines up with the bladder. This is the one that I had trouble with, was the Queen's chamber. Well, what's the Queen's chamber? Because everything else is, I should mention first though too. So this is, if we're at the pyramids, looking at the pyramids, we're looking as the sun travels, right? West.
Yeah.
So this setup here is north-south, right?
Yeah.
So, but I've flipped this person around, so we're sort of seeing the front of him, but we should be seeing the back of it.
The heart side, yeah.
So the heart's to the left, right? And this was the image we always got, the section we always got from the pyramids. Why this way too? So when we're looking at it, we look through and we see the sunset. We're looking west, okay? So this is kind of, if it's lined up with our heart, and we are the pyramid, we're looking west, with our right hand being north, and our left hand being south.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's interesting to note that because the pyramids may be our alignment here to this place. So the Queen's chamber giving me heaps of trouble. I'm trying to work out what's going on there. But what you see highlighted there is the pancreas. And the pancreas is, there's exocrine, digestive juices, exocrine, two glands really, that just your emotional balance really. So Queen's chamber, that makes sense to me, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Like
as our emotional, our feminine center.
Yeah. Emotions are more attributed to the feminine, so yeah.
Yeah, and then the heart.
Nice.
Every now and again, as it catches up, it's got a bit of a lag as well. Okay, so we've got the belly button here too, which lines up. But something you said, like, I did this overlay and I sent it to you, and I sent it also to Robert at Observation Deck, and he responded back, and it was very inspirational, sort of pushing me on forward as well. And he mentioned the chakra system as well, and you mentioned the chakra system when we were talking about this. So I've put it here somewhere, I think. There it is there. So I couldn't find one again that was done. So I made one. So here's an overlay of the chakra systems and the pyramid, with the white one here at the top being the capstone.
Yeah.
There's also this one here, the third eye, but apparently there might be sort of another chamber there as well, as part of a discovery I read. But here's the blue throat, which lines up with the air shafts here. Where I drew these lines in here, so you can see that. And then the heart, green. The Queen's chamber lines up with the yellow there. This is the belly button. This is the amber, and red at the bottom here.
All right.
Okay, so I'm like, yeah, that lines up, and the organs line up as well. Like we've got like 3 main organs that line up here as well, plus the belly button and stuff. And it's just like how many coincidences, right? So it means something. It's a template. I mean, how many things can you overlay on the pyramid as well?
Exactly.
And it holds all proportions, great proportions, and all of that as well. So I need to
Yeah.
Analyze this. We'll go through some more here. So I'll show you. Yeah. Which way? This one. Let's go this way. Oh, hold on. Let me just make sure I can do this. Are we still there?
Yeah. That's cool. We can always trim this out.
Let's get back to where we were. There we are. So you can see this here.
Yep.
This way. Here we go. So here's another one where I just mirrored. You can see I've mirrored the pyramids there. Because as above, so below as well, there might be something down here of interest. As this being a point, the capstone, there may be another capstone down here. The way I think about it too is if this one's gold, this one's most probably silver, and sun and moon.
Okay.
Maybe cathodes as well, cathode electrode. But here's sort of the proportions showing itself where we can see the Fibonacci spiral. I found this photo online somewhere.
Okay.
And right here at the inverted commas sarcophagus.
Yeah.
And actually this one is from observation deck, Robert. I think he did this one. And you can see the brain. You can see here the descending passage lining up with the mouth, the nose, the eye.
Oh, nice.
To the pineal gland being the king's chamber, I think, and then the queen's is the sort of pit of the brain and the stem canal. So that was very interesting as well. You can see sort of the proportions of everything, or the template of everything fitting in here.
Yeah, I was just wondering what they are when you sit cross-legged. You know, a lot of people meditate cross-legged under pyramids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering if it'd slight. I mean, it wouldn't change it too much, really, would it? Your bottom chakra.
Well, it puts your bottom chakra flat dead with the 0 point is what I think the 0 point is. So you're closer to Earth.
So you're literally earthing on your
which is a relaxing experience as well. And so, like, if I look at the pyramids, I'd more likely see someone sitting cross-legged, sort of thing.
Mm.
You know, but there's that. They'd be buried
Yeah.
to the navel, right? We being able to walk around, whatnot. This being anchored to one spot.
Yeah.
So, like, if you said, like, I'd say, like, where's the belly button of a tree, right? It's part of it's rooted to the place. So the pyramids are rooted to the place.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I see what you mean. Like,
so it reflects what it is too.
yeah, trees and trees.
So like a tree, yeah, this would be the roots down here.
Yeah, and the belly button or the growth point would literally be ground level. Like when the seed comes out, that's the belly button.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it starts. That's where the tree starts as well, you know.
Yeah, that's the tree's belly button.
Yeah, I suggest giving birth laying, you know, closer to the 0 point is probably a good thing to do, you know. Emanating from that, as opposed to being on a bed or something higher than the ground and disconnected to start with.
And that's a whole thing about the whole birth certificate thing as well, is when babies are born, they don't touch their feet to the ground.
Yeah, they don't connect. There's no. Yeah. So snip.
Yes.
We haven't.
Right.
Terrible.
Don't need that connection anymore, young one. Snip, snip.
Snip. You're ours now, pretty much. Well, they take them somewhere too. I don't know about that. They take them into another room and then give them to you. It's like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
This is another overlay because now we've got a few things sort of nutted out here, haven't we? But what the hell is this? This massive chamber, right? The Grand Gallery.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's the liver, and this is the liver here. You can sort of see that this line of the liver here lines up, kind of perfectly with it here.
Yeah, definitely.
But the shape is kind of important as well when it kind of comes to later what's going on here. Because there's an acoustic chamber that happens here, which is this shape as well. So shape is very important, but sort of size and stuff as well. It's huge. And then function of the liver. What does the liver do? You know,
Cleans your blood. Yeah.
Filters the blood, cleans the blood. So we've got a few things going on here. Let's keep going through. Here's a female body overlay, and with their heart and the pancreas highlighted as the Queen's chamber, so that you can sort of see this shape happening here. Just flip it, right? Yeah, you've got that tail here, right, of the pancreas. It's going over to this junction point over here. And so liver, heart, the antechamber is a very interesting, if we get time, hopefully we can go into this little thing here, which is very interesting. I think I've only just worked it out. Here you can see the pancreas here with the Queen's chamber, the heart, size and sort of relative position. Liver, sort of, sometimes things don't line up that well with different bodies and whatnot when they're not quite dead on anyway. But here's our subterranean chamber, the bladder. So I did a whole bunch of these different sort of overlays. There's the heart lining up perfectly here.
I'm surprised it's never been done before. I mean, I think you're definitely onto something here.
Yeah, that was the biggest shock to me. I'm like, it just sort of seemed obvious to me. Yeah. So why has it not been done? Here's one of my favorites, because this is an old sort of, oh, look, I can just scroll through. This is an old sort of diagram with the 3 different pyramids here. But here's the pancreas, again, sort of relative size and position. It was hard to find the position until I could find the overlays for it, the medical things for it. But this one's around the right way, right? So we're looking the other way now.
Yep.
So we're looking east, past. There's sort of another one. I just went nuts with them, right? But here's and here's an overlay of the 3 with the chakras as well.
Well, yeah, it all lines up, doesn't it?
There's another one. So you can see that this point here would end up between the knees somewhere, which I thought was an interesting point, with the capstone being on your head, crown, and then this point between the knees. So, you know, when you touch your knees with your head, it's a fetal position. It's like that. It's a connection point. So that's a point too. I mean, if you put your palms together, say you're praying or something, right? But if you put your hands together, that forms a connection. And in a couple of minutes, that connection will show itself, and it's a relaxation connection within the body. Yeah. So you're right-handed, so I can say for you can put your left hand at the base of your neck and your right hand at the base of your spine, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
The coccyx sort of thing, as low. And that forms a connection point. So if you're left-handed, that would be opposite. You'd be putting your right hand behind your head. It's kind of important what energy you are. But this is a relaxation circuit. So me being slightly right-handed, this is a relaxation connection for me. Now, if I oppose that and put my hands the other way, very quickly, it'll turn into a it's a non-relaxation, far away from lax.
Yeah, right.
And it irritates you.
Way.
It's this instinctual thing we have too, with mothers knowing exactly how to hold a baby, which way to hold a baby, which hand, which side, that matches them. It's instinctual. You do it the opposite way around, it won't feel right.
Yeah, right. And that's interesting. And you always hold basically a hand on their head and a hand on their butt, like their top and bottom.
Which hand?
Don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I do this with my dog as well, because he's left pawed.
Yeah.
So I do the opposite with him, and it feels right, and he feels right, and it's cool to the touch or warm to the touch, depending, on what the temperature is and stuff.
Was that just,
Hey?
how did you work out he was left forward? Was that from shaking?
Oh, yeah, look at your pet when they're resting and say, come here or whatever, and look which paw they lead with.
Oh,
Same as humans.
yeah, right.
Well, I don't like the word humans, but same as us, right?
Yeah.
We do the same thing. So it's a very important thing for me, reading people, just something I've learned. It's one of the first things I pick up is what's their dominant side. If I know someone's dominant side, that's a whole heap of relevant, useful information that you can use to communicate with that person way more effectively, get more across, and you know, sing in their song to help them.
Yeah. But getting on their level, getting hitting that vibration.
Yeah. And vibration actually becomes a big part of this, because looking at this is, I think that was my last image there. Yep. This shape here is a speaker, right? And if I turn the speaker cone upside down, if I wanted to put vibration, say, in the earth, I'd take a speaker cone and I'd turn it upside down.
Yeah, one pyramid by itself is a speaker. Yeah, gotcha.
So any sound created from this pyramid is like the design of this reflects it downward into the earth. And this is where I'm saying that center point is, right? Now, if this massive structure was vibrating, it would be sending a physical vibration into the earth. So you can look at Tesla's stuff, whoever Tesla might be or might not be. If you look into his work too, about vibrations, and it's actually quite helpful. Like, I have a vibration plate that I stand on, and 15 minutes pumps your entire body system, lymphs, everything. So it's like doing a half hour, 45-minute sort of swimming or something. It's a full-on workout for the body. But what I'm doing is increasing the vibration, the natural vibration of the earth, which is what we're doing naturally when we're active doing the exercise. But I've got a machine doing it for me, right? Tesla worked this out as well with vibrations, where he had a machine and he stood on it and he started vibrating. He noticed, and then he, went off to the toilet.
Yeah, right.
It cleans out your system. Yeah, it's just a physical cleaning out of toxins and whatnot. It helps your system.
And isn't exercise an interesting word?
Yes, exercise. And then there's exorcise, exactly. Right? I looked into that word a bit as well.
They both do the same thing, right? Getting rid of the bad stuff.
Yeah, getting rid of the toxic, the dead, which is the dead. So in this process, there is this as well, getting rid of the dead. So what are the pyramids? We better get onto it.
Yes.
In terms of the theory, like what's going on here? Because I think they are what they are. The King's Chamber is the function of the heart. The Queen's Chamber is the function of the pancreas. We've got this tricky little bit here, which is connected to 3, and this descending passage, which is not connected. This is like plugged up, and apparently always was, sort of thing. So this is kind of, for me, this is the Gall Bladder here. Actually, let's get a bigger picture going on here so I can... the other way around, sort of thing. So here's the Gall Bladder. This is the function of the Gall Bladder. So it's Gall Bladder is to sort of collect bile and then sort of drip it into the small intestine. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And then so here we have the subterranean. This is kind of the pee-pee. And this is the poo-poo, right? Hard material going this way and more watery material going this way. This being the stomach here as the descending passage. And I think half of it being the esophagus sort of thing coming to the mouth here. Entrance. Through, yeah. And this being an out point here. These two air shafts, which I don't think are air shafts at all. The Queen's ones don't go anywhere. They're blocked off. So let's have a look at the pyramids. Because I went into each organ and stuff as well. So actually going back to an anatomy. So like one thing to discover about the heart is it's not a pump, right? And hopefully people sort of know this by now, so I don't really have to go through it that much. But pretty much a guy unwrapped the heart and figured out how to unwrap the heart, and it's one sort of tube with a fold in the middle sort of thing. And as it's a double helix going down sort of thing. So it's a vortex going down to that fold, that point in the middle, which separates the two. So it's an in and an out, but not pumping. It doesn't need to pump because there's vacuum pressure and all this other stuff involved. All it's doing really is stopping the blood, you know, and processing the blood as I see it. Because the way I see it, it vortexes the blood down to the point, and then there's an electrical process that happens and it re-vortexes outward. So now going the other way. So like this is Victor Schauberger and all this sort of stuff too. When we vortex water, which blood is really mostly plasma, the plasma portion being water, is like 50, 60% sort of thing in that range, depending, right? So it's really processing water and solids, sort of organic matter in the water, really. So I'm looking at the pyramids as being processing blood or water, the blood of the earth, really.
Yeah.
So the process of that heart spinning that water, we know that really, there's my dog actually, sorry.
Hello,
he's got
puppy.
COVID. Lucky dog, who's coughing like all hell. He's got a sore throat. So that spinning process, that vortexing in that shape as well, is I did have sort of somewhere to sort of show my poor dog. It's pretty much a rope. You can consider it sort of like rope, that sort of double helixes down and out. So it's the same as Victor Schauberger, where you're vortexing water, but the heart doing that at an extremely fast rate. But when it comes down, here's the electrical systems of the heart here. So these little Perkins cube, or whatever they are, sort of protruding into the ventricles, sort of, so into the blood itself, is really. So I have a different theory as to what they think what's going on here. I just think it's opposite. I think what's happening is the blood is separated, and there's a potential difference within the blood in charge. So all of these doing, like here and here, and this is like being a switch and maybe taking energy as well. But all that's happening here is a leveling out, that difference being like a charge, and that's where you get the charge. And in that function, that's the vortexing out. That helps the out process, but it's also sort of zeroed out the electrical charge in the blood. So now, the blood was more positive coming into the heart, and then it sort of neutralizes it pretty much in a vortex. But also what's created with this electrical process is our magnetic heart, our magnetic process as well. And what do we do when we vortex water around a magnet? You know, in terms of this other knowledge we have, which is in resetting that water as well, resetting the energetic nature of that water so it can accept more memory. So it's like new again, right? So that's what I think's happening in the heart, not really what they're doing, but it's this whole cleansing process of the blood, and the lungs being a part of that as well, right?
Yeah. And then the heart
being another sort of electrical process as well. The
heart's the biggest, chakra, or whatever it's called, plexus in the body, and electrical point and connection, I guess. So
yeah. That's our biggest field.
Is it transferring information up to like the akashic field and sort of wiping what's in the body back to sort of so we can collect more information in? I wonder. I don't know.
So yeah, that process going around as a circle, and there's this point where it's reborn again, and the blood goes back into the stream, goes through that process again. So it's really just a process of nature here. But if we look at the pyramids, that's what we're seeing. So let's have a look. Where are we? I think I had it already here. Not that guy. Here's the pyramids, but this is, let's start with, this is the one from when you found.
Yeah.
And here's the drawing. I noticed that this is not sealed up here, which was interesting. For what I think it to be, I think it needs to be sealed up, but this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I've noticed with what I think's going on here is you just need to do what I'm saying. Like there's nothing to take away or add, or maybe one little thing to add when we get to it, but there's really not much else, right?
It's just a matter. I'm just wondering, is this an overflow that goes out the entrance? What happens when you get
or it could have been a valve, like a valve sort of thing, open close when it needed to and stuff as well, so it feeds back. So that might have been a change in design maybe later, or a plug up or a cover or something.
Almost like you gullet, that it can close and open.
This was another one showing the door, which is interesting, right? Closed, like this being found this way apparently, right? And here's this as well, which you were sort of pointing out. Maybe these are doorways into a room here or something as well. But this, to me, is sort of more proof for me of a moat around the pyramids, holding water in here, which makes sense with what I think's going on with the pyramids. So we can go through all this, but let me say what I think it is first, so we're not squirming. Here is a biodigester, and this is what I think the pyramids are in the end. But it would be a mistake to think that that's all it is. Right, but here's one on a toilet sort of thing, where the waste comes in here. It goes through a fermentation process, and see at the top here, as you put more in, this is like going through the body process. This is the pyramid process, and out from that comes beautiful organic liquid fertilizer. All you need. Here's many examples. Here's a big one. So this is what I think these are. And you need to build for pressure and whatnot as well, right? Because there's gas building up, methane production. Okay, in these chambers. Okay, organic material going in. Fermentation process. So the energy here is microbes and bacteria and whatnot. Tiny, tiny little batteries, billions and trillions of them.
Yeah.
But you can see different chambers going on here on recent plants and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's literally like a digestive system, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a body system, the complete cycle. So there's some small ones, some bigger ones, and at the moment I'm building I'm building two of these. So the process, I was thinking through all of this as I'm thinking through pyramids, and it's like, oh, that's what they used them for.
No, synchronicity.
There's chambers, the different chambers and the different filtration processes. So as you're going up in the pyramid, with pressure is what's building in these chambers, which are methane chambers, subterranean chamber. There's the grotto, Queen's chamber, the Grand Gallery. All of these are sound acoustic chambers as well, exactly what they tell us, I think, which is, all we get from really the indigenous, that it was some sort of sound acoustic device. So I can say, yes, it is, I think. But you can see that this is a process that this is, say you're thinking about building a community right now, and you wanted to do things with nature, in cycle with nature. This is how you do it. This is exactly how you do it. The cycle I'm creating is two gardens that are on the bed of two trailers. that have a methane digester in the center. That's the beating heart of that system. But it's a complete closed loop system here. You can add to it and take away from it. You know, you can add more biomatter to it. But the clippings from all the stuff and your waste and all of this goes into this. You can do this at a very small level, or you can do this at a very large level, which I think the pyramids are. And you can see here the different zones going on and the different process here as well. I mean, this is outside sort of heat, but if we put heat in the middle section here too, like fire in the middle sort of stuff,
Yeah.
that heat speeds this process, this transition process up, right? And then mixing it also does that as well. So movement does that, right? So we're moving and heating to speed this process up. You could have one inside if you heated it up, right? But if you put one outside, the natural sunlight heats it up and speeds up the process. But you can make this process go faster or slower too with that sort of controls. Right, and here's the gas buildup and gas. Some smaller setups, chambers, right? And then under the ground, so, you know, we're getting down to some heat sources there from the ground, which heat start this process anyway and help this process along, heat it up and keep it at that consistent temperature. So it's like it goes at the same rate always, you know, so you can get the feeding and everything right. So now maybe let's look at, because I did some sort of overviews showing some pictures showing the whole lot, what I'm talking about here. Cool. Sort of in
so what do you think the fuel is for
the fuel?
Yeah.
So what's coming in?
Yeah, for the bio, yeah.
Yep, so it can be any biomatter. So it could be dead bodies of any...
Or is it more...
Sorry?
Do you think they're actually feeding the pyramid and using it, or is it more of a representation?
I think they're feeding it. You can have this sort of separate where you have a separate feed to the entrance section, and then but the moat around it is the finished product. I'm thinking that's what's circling around, and that can feed itself back as well. So some of this finished product sort of thing, which is perfect, you know, plant food. It's liquid fertilizer. It's got everything in it, blood and bone, everything. It's just you've gone through that process. Some of that can go back in to itself and help itself along as well. So a bit of a feedback process that happens as well to keep that cycle, right? But you could pretty much feed it whatever you want, whatever it needs. So it could be clippings or whatever.
And you could
just waste
like bits of rock in there to get chemical elements in as well. But
well, I wouldn't. That might block this up, but this as a system just going all the time, day and night, just consistently flowing. When the sun's out, it goes stronger, sort of thing. You know, it's a body.
Yeah,
it's a living body, really.
Is like, what are we told about ancient Egypt and how they grew their food? They waited for the Nile to flood, right, and to cover everything with silt, with nutrient-rich water, basically. You know, is that just something that sort of happened because the pyramids broke down, but that's what they were used to, if you know what I mean?
I kind of ruled out this idea, but I did along the way here. You can do this with seawater, so you can ferment seawater, which is you're pretty much desalinating it, really.
Yeah, right.
Through this fermentation process. It's the natural process of nature. That's staying with nature as what I think. You know, so that can be done, and it could be done. I'm just thinking, you know, there wasn't a lot of salt sort of found. I would think there'd be a lot more salts found, and especially in the subterranean chamber and that built up.
If it was seawater.
if it was seawater with a lot of salt being sort of processed, but because that's putting that salt into the ground and, as well through the base. That pressure that builds up pushes the solid material down into the earth through probably tunnels, and that liquid fertilizer and stuff from that as well into the earth.
So it's almost like I guess, like the center of a torus, if you think of it that way, and it's pushing stuff down into the ground, which is then sort of making its way out and
both ways.
Making the whole area pushing around it sort of very.
It's pushing the water sort of element up.
Yep.
And more heavy water down and out, and the more solid stuff down. So
it's feeding a big area.
Yeah. And the process itself is helping every aspect of it. Like this is the apparently restored from doorway at Dashur. This is what they think might be how the front door was. Where there's stories where inside here, because outside you can't open it, but inside here you push one finger and it opens. But that yellow there is my methane buildup. And you can see here, it's building up with pressure. Okay. And there's a pressure point where this will just keep building up and this will keep going down, where this outside pressure and this pressure here becomes equal and it opens itself up. Yeah. So it's a self-feeding mechanism as well.
Self-release. So literally, if that got blocked up, that could have blown the top off the pyramid if there was no release valve.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, I think that this is probably a very, very important part of it as being that release, because the rest of it sort of, as you go through, here we are as it's come up, but let's go through at the base here. So here it is here. So here's a dam sort of thing. This is where I think they had that moat.
Yep.
And inlets. So you could have another feed here that, some of this new water, new water comes back in and waste can just be flowed down here.
Yep.
So it sinks to a heavier material into this pit. You can see the yellow methane chamber now, which is building up with pressure. That pressure has to release. So, it pushes down and out, but it's also pushing up the small intestine here into the grotto, which is also a chamber, but this might also be a valve, so nothing can get back down. It's just, so if it's filling or whatever, nothing will go back down. It's just pushing it up, and these slowly fill up. So we now have a chamber here, a chamber here. I should have put yellow there. A chamber here, a chamber here, the Queen's chamber. These two chambers, because the water sort of fills up to a point and blocks these off as separate chambers to the Queen's chamber, and then it's the Queen's chamber. Then we have these chambers here. So this is the liver chamber. So this is now the shape of the liver sort of thing.
Yeah.
And this becomes the acoustic element. These chambers are the acoustic element. There's the ante and the kings. And then that water level, this is now the only escape out of the two air channels.
Yeah.
And you see it come back out here. And the end is the start and the end. And this is a circle that just keeps flowing and flowing.
Wow.
Like that. So this may now be an electrical component you're seeing here with these chambers, which might be producing heat, I think, from the potential difference gained from having your capacitor stones, right? And then you've got this potential difference up here and down here, which would be massive.
Yeah, so you've got the arc in the middle and
But this process could also be feeding electricity as well. Like I've read papers on extracting electricity directly from methane. And it doesn't seem too dissimilar to this, depending on heat and stuff. So that could be a possibility as well, going both ways, this electricity flow. So supplying electricity here, which, like if you look at the pyramids as well, like we've got heat, we've got water around it, right? but we've got like the sun coming down, bouncing, sort of focused to these areas where the water is.
Yeah.
So producing steam, and the way that, you know, the pyramids are 8-sided, right? Not 4-sided?
Yeah. Yep.
It got me for a while. I'm like, why? What's going on there? But it's a little fold in a triangle in it. So you think of yourself in front of you, you've got a triangle piece of paper and you put a fold down the center. Yep. And now you lean it up on that angle that, so, okay. So you've got the angle of the pyramid sort of thing right there. Now blow on it. It's a funnel now, isn't it? And where does that air go? To the tip. So if there's heat and steam, any direction of the air, and probably it would want to be drawn up this way in terms of heat and stuff anyway, but any wind direction would push the steam to the tip, increasing the electrical potential, which we saw in like UAP stuff as well with the buildings, right?
Yep. Where
they're directing that heat to the top. The other thing is, you know, sun going down. So the sun path, you look at it now you've got light going in the opposite direction sort of thing, or rain or water or whatever as well. It's now funneled downward to a point. So the heat being sort of in the center of that funnel, that's where more of the heat is directed down towards the center. So more steam would get to the top.
Cool. Yeah, no, I get that, yeah.
And but that gives me an answer to why is it 8-sided, right?
Yeah, that's the way it
fits with my system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the whole thing. If you don't know what it is, then nothing really makes sense. And
no, until like a model's done or something like this sort of thing, this can be a model reproduced and sort of get it going, because you can do it on any scale sort of thing. But then that's still not going to. That's not proof for anything. It just could work as this and that and a whole bunch of things.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like the Bible, right? You know, it's like you can read that about 5 or 6 different ways. So it's obviously multifunctional. So if the heat goes up and also comes down, that makes the top of this cap the midpoint as well, doesn't it? For the heat, you know, as above, so below, heat up, heat down.
And, yep. And that difference in temperature would produce electrical as well. It's like a lot of things working together here. A lot of systems working sort of together in that cycle, that one main cycle. But each thing on its own is its own separate thing, right? Like these sound acoustic chambers, like the heart right here. So once that pressure builds up to a point, and well, picture yourself inside of a cave, and the cave's filled up with water, and you're on a little dinghy boat or something, and everything's quiet. Dog's quiet, hopefully. Everything's quiet. Okay? And then say you slap the paddle on the water, you know, you're going to get this reflection of sound that carries for a very long time.
Yeah.
You know, you can picture that and hear that. Now, if I increase the pressure of that, you know, now what happens, right? To a point, like, because there's no pressure release here, it has to go through. So the pressure, it would release itself out these ways.
The water, so the vibration has to go through the water.
Yeah, and up.
Okay.
But yeah, so these are not like, this is moving water now. This is a river flowing through this. And, you know, hydroelectricity and stuff as well. But that water now is by itself, like, you know, maybe some heat being produced here, which they think there was heat here, fire in the middle, right? This is your fire in the middle. This is the heat. And so I did, maybe it's this way.
So what's making the vibration? Is it the pressure of the air being pushed up against the shape of the chambers?
Well, where's the energy? The energy is coming from the movement of the water. So the waves, the ripples of the water, and that pressure point, I mean, there has to be movement, and that gets translated to, I mean, that's why it's a sound chamber, and it has to be intensely, because that's going to be singing now.
Yeah. So
It'll
you can
get to
imagine
that
like
point.
a little wave smacking against the wall, kind of making a beat. That's yeah.
Yep. And when we're here, what, you know, on this surface here, what are we probably seeing? We're probably seeing a cymatic pattern on the water. That's the acoustic shape of this room, you know, and then we have the sarcophagus. So the water's coming up through here and then is flowing around here as a natural flow path and around. And then some of it would keep going around, getting smaller and smaller as a vortex and out and out. Okay. So what the hell's going on here? What is this thing? Because it sure as shit is not a sarcophagus. I mean,
coffin.
You can do a quick, yeah, exactly. You can do a quick search on a sarcophagus, and all you'll see come up, besides the King's Chamber one or whatever, is the gold, beautiful shapes that stand upward, mind you, that always stand upward and never lay down and stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know, so their fairy tales don't work on me anymore. Like,
yeah. So
I don't go with his story. So what's left is my story. So
these all had lids on them too, the sarcophagi, didn't they? So they're actually like an enclosed, you know.
Yes, and there was a little lip, so it actually sits down in it. So the other thing I was thinking for this is another, like a sound pressure with a pressure chamber within a pressure chamber, because I can have another fermentation process building up, which is what I think an altar is in a building, right? In the old buildings. Because they're boxes, they're not tables or whatever. No, it's an altar of change. Something's transitioning and changing.
Altar, oh gosh.
Right, but those lips allow, so let's reverse this process. So I've got one in a temple, right? In a church. I've got an altar sitting in that point of resonance, okay? Under the dome, okay?
Yep.
So that's just a person sitting upward, okay? So that point of resonance where that pressure is building up in this box, which is made of granite that can stand high pressure in most of these churches and stuff as well. And the lid is set up so it can't just shake off. If it goes up and down, if the lid goes up and down, it stays in its channel. It stays in its little channel that it's perfectly made for it.
Yeah.
So when that pressure gets to the same point as the pressure forcing the lid down, buoyancy and pressure, right? Then now we have a point where the pressure is greater in the box and it escapes. So it pushes that box up and that box goes down. That lid goes down. And the lid goes up and the lid goes down as it escapes. So it's naturally vibrating now. Yeah. What do you think it would attune to?
I don't know.
I mean, you know the acoustics of that room, don't you?
Yeah. Well,
and how much trouble and effort have gone into the acoustics of that
I would
room,
say,
right?
just looking at the shape of that, that's got to be the golden ratio, doesn't it? Which is, what's that as a frequency? Yeah. I don't know.
Almost, yeah. But what we end up having is, so if I put a body on top of that, though, right? On top of that, that body is now vibrating at that room's frequency, which is harmonious to the one song. Now, if I play an organ, a note from an organ, maybe that's there. Yeah. Maybe that organ to that person that is lying on that altar, that's the tune of what an organ sounds like. And if the person on that altar is not in tune with that, they would entrain very quickly to that as a physical vibration in the body.
Mm. And what do we do when we go to church? Like, we put our hands in water.
Yep. I think a lot of people singing as well. A lot of people singing to this and stuff as well.
They give you wine now, but it probably used to be like grape juice, like sugar, which is good for electrical circuits, right?
Like this here, I think, from looking at it, the whatever electrical activity is probably happening down, not in the heart here, which was interesting to me, but in the middle, in the Queen's chamber, right? And this, I think, because, you know, you're in the email we've had back and forth and stuff, you mentioned the arc fits in this. But that's what clicked with me, the magnetic and electrical properties. We've got the electrical property going on, but this is probably the magnetic. I mean, all you'd need to do really is to fill this up with lodestone or something. So now you've got the water vortexing around a magnetic field, resetting the water and out. So it's doing the same process of the heart, the magnetic process of the heart. But this is a sound chamber, probably at the frequency of the heart, most probably, when it's filled up with water, right? So it's now this chamber. And if we look at, let's go back to Great Pyramid, you know, the Queen's Chamber. So this one. Oh, there's the King's Chamber. You can sort of see a bit of a line here, but this is where I think the water level is, which lines up with the top of the thing. Oops.
Sarcophagus with a nice big crack in it.
Yeah, which may be from pressure. See, these here are what they found when they put robots up the top of the air shafts of the Queen's Chamber, which are copper. So, like, if this is a methane high-pressure environment and there's maybe an arc going across this, it may be doing something to that, a process that I'm not probably too fully aware of, or whatever. I mean, or either way, really, or extracting.
Almost.
So this might be a bit of a methane release point as well, if it's because when you're releasing it, it's turning into something. The energy is transforming into something. So electrical.
Well, I was going to say too, with the capstone, I mean, do you think it's gold or is it maybe?
Well, that's what they said. I don't know, but it seems like it's a very high conductive thing, which gold would be. But, you know, if I were doing it, I would fill it with mercury.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think, you know, that's the storage of the capacity. That's what they found, sort of thing, I reckon.
Yeah, and I mean, mercury is also like an amplifier of energy, stuff like that.
Yeah, they put radio signals through it and stuff as well to increase range and that sort of stuff.
The guy in Russia, and he gets
with the TV.
Yeah, with the TV. Yeah, awesome.
So that's it. Like Mercury's role with wave energy, you know, that's interesting, very interesting, and especially in this old ancient tech. So
why is it so illegal?
Yes, and you always know when something's illegal, it's really good for you.
It's good for you.
Here's something else from someone else who thought it was a ram pump, but you see in my sort of setup, it does have a bit of this, of that ram pump function, because the pressure is really pushing it up, you know.
Yeah, you're just recollecting that.
Like doing it with
a self-contained system.
Yeah, because it's always producing methane. It's always producing its own energy it needs from the microbes that are breaking everything down. Same as how your body, you know. And
it's working like pistons as well, almost, like to build that pressure up and to keep itself going.
Yeah, like each sort of chamber is really a piston pushing it up, and heat also is a part of that, because that heat process is its own pump as well. So everything's pushing it up and out.
It rises, exactly. Yeah. Water.
And as that water comes out a bit hotter than it is around, it'll turn into steam as well, adding to the electrical potential. Adding. Everything's working on top of itself. You know, there's the eight sides. But you can see like wind coming through, or etheric energy, or however the flow would want to come up to this point.
Yeah, it directs it a lot more into the center rather than if they were flat.
The center. And the opposite with heavy going down, right? Or light being shone down at it. These points here become hotter, allowing for more steam to go up the center. Perfect. It's like perfect, simple design. One of the, like if there's the door there, so one of the outs of the water, which is left hand, right hand, so north and south facing. One goes down into the doorway, into the entrance. So there's a bit of that biofeedback happening.
Yeah.
Where that system's feeding itself as well and just pumping out. So if there's now moats and stuff around, this because there's water coming in, there's an in, which is your material and more biomatter coming in, and it's pumping out. So this, now you can pump to anywhere and everything grow perfectly.
Yeah.
But if we look beyond that now, you know, as well, from like the being all the functioning of a heart, the electrical, the magnetic. So do we not now, and the whole thing's vibrating, right? The whole thing is vibrating like a speaker and pushing the combination of all of those chambers together into the ground. So you feel the vibration of the pyramids, right? Mm. Each one of those pyramids being this and adding to that song.
Yeah.
If that song is in harmony with the one song, you know, sort of 7.83 and you know, then we are vibrating at that. We can attune to that natural frequency better, stronger. So we get effects from that. Plants get effects from that, right? We're just singing the song louder. The one song of the universe, it's singing louder now. But as a physical vibration, right? Go away. As a physical vibration. So that emanates to us. We have to entrain to that, right? That's strong. But so that's a frequency or whatever through the ground, but also can be taken as power as well, right? This, as Tesla sort of pointed out, putting vibrations in the ground and picking them up somewhere where you want. But if this is also a leaky capacitor from the top, now we have an electrical field here. So we have an electrical field and a magnetic field. So we now have a person standing here. Well, not a person, but a being here. We've completed a cycle and we've got a being here. So it has these fields, right? Magnetic and electric. So this would be like a shield, like a bio shield around the community, right? Nice. If you walk into that field, you're now physically vibrating, and the sound waves, putting your mind waves into a sync, you entrain to it, and electrically and magnetically. So you're entraining to the electrical potential in the field, and you're also entraining to the magnetic potential. So your heart beats at the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you've now walked in, and guess what happens? You chill out. So if you're an invading force, you're at the gates and you come through the bubble, right? You're like, I don't want to kill them anymore. I'm feeling good. This is a really wonderful place. Yeah. Everything good. Because if you increase the electrical potential, there's been studies done on this as well with seeds, increasing the static electric field for seeds for like 3 days, really. You kind of reset the seed. The plants grow and reset backwards in their span, in their life.
Oh, okay. So they
microgeneration
and stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they get bigger, stronger, pretty much more resilient to most weather conditions. They're not conditioned to a certain terrain or whatnot, right? But like they've even done it with salmon. So increase the electrical potential, and the salmon, the eggs get bigger.
You get bigger fish. Wow.
So I wonder if you're living in a field like this that's at a higher potential, whether your babies get bigger.
Yeah.
And if you started with a small pyramid or some small pyramids, and your babies got bigger over a couple of generations, and this was good, we built another one and got bigger and bigger. Maybe by this stage, there were giants building it.
Yeah, because they got bigger when you started with the little ones, yeah.
Then you could have giants in some places and non-giants in other places, and giants leave that zone, then they're kind of leaving the pressure and whatnot as well. Because now they're in a different field, so they might have trouble.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And the whole fact that, the Sahara used to be green and now it's not, and it's obviously...
Well, it's off now, you know.
Because, the machine's been turned off, the life machine. And also the the pyramid is, well, we're told it's basically at the center of all the land masses,
yeah, I showed a picture of that before where it's in the center of the landmass, yeah, from there. But again, a projection. But
yeah,
at the moment it's on the 33rd degree, right? Well, close to the 33rd degree.
Of course, yeah. But then
so,
again,
you know,
the third is also the spine and the atlas vertebrae that holds up your head.
All right, well, looks like we lost Kallum there. His computer actually shut down. So yeah, that's end of part 1. So we are going to do a part 2, and it won't take as long this time. So I'm going to have a chat to Kallum next week. So I hope you all enjoyed that one. Part 2 will be coming up next week for you. Please, give us a comment, like, subscribe, share this content if you like it. Leave a comment for Kallum as well. I think you should all urge him to start his own channel and to put some content out there, because he definitely has some very interesting things to say. So thanks for spending some time with us tonight, guys. Have a spectacular day and or night, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.